In the 39th shloka of chapter 2, that is the last shloka of the previous video, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna that up till now the Sankhya Yoga or the Jnana Yoga was taught to you. From now on, listen to the Karma Yoga, and endowed with this, you will be free from the Karma Bandhana. By doing your duties, that is your Kshatriya duties, without any attachment to the results, and by dedicating your actions to a higher purpose, you will not incur any sins. Sri Krishna's inputs to Arjuna on Karma Yoga continues in the 40th shloka. Neha bikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Iha abhikramanashaha na asti. Iha, in this place it refers to the Karma Yoga. So in this Karma Yoga, abhikrama, efforts, nashaha na asti. So efforts don't go waste. There is no loss of efforts in this Karma Yoga. Pratyavayaha, contradictory or adverse results, na vidyate. So contradictory or adverse results do not exist in this Karma Yoga. Asya dharmasya, this dharmas, in this dharma, swalpamapi mahataha bhayat trayate. Even if one were to put in small efforts, mahataha bhayat trayate. It protects a person. Trayate is protects. It protects a person from great fear. So it gives great protection from the fear on account of the birth and death. So in this path of Karma Yoga, there is no loss of initiative and effort. There are no contrary results. Even little knowledge and practice of this yoga or discipline, it saves one from the terrible fear of birth and death. If you sow a seed and take care of it, and let us say it becomes a plant, and after some time, if you stop taking care of it, then the plant would die and the seed also gets wasted. In the path of Karma Yoga, any initiative taken, once you make a beginning and you take an initiative, however small the attempt may be, doesn't go waste. In the case of medical treatment, let's say a doctor prescribes a wrong medicine by mistake. Now that would produce contrary results, it would produce adverse results. In the case of Karma Yoga, on the other hand, once you make a beginning, practice of this Karma Yoga causes immediate purification of the mind and heart. And hence contrary efforts, contrary results are not there. Maybe on account of distractions or bad company, there can be some delay. But once a person gets initiated into this Karma Yoga, if he does not pursue it in this particular Janma, at least in the next Janma, he would continue to pursue it, and the Jivatma would get the fruits of it. The good results would flow in the same proportion at an appropriate time, and the Jivatma would progress to attain moksha or Paramapada. A small spark is capable of burning the whole forest. Likewise, Karma Yoga practice once begun, it creates that spark of spirituality which gives the doer the strength to transcend the Bhavasagara. Bhavasagara, Sagara is ocean. Bhavasagara is ocean of births and deaths that we go through in this sansara. So one has to overcome these barriers, and Karma Yoga helps us to do that. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna gives us this guarantee that all that you need to do is make a beginning, start practicing this. So once you have done that, once the positive seed of Karma Yoga is sown in us, now that has the ability to lead to more and more positive actions and shape our state of mind. This beginning made, it helps us to break the karmic cycle and discover our true selves. This practice can be done, this Karma Yoga practice can be done by freeing ourselves from the Shad Ripus or the 6 enemies. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Kama is lust or desire, Krodha is anger, Lobha is greed, Moha is attachment, Mada is ego, and Matsarya, envy or jealousy. So these 6 enemies, which are Shad Ripu, which are very much within us, they bind the Atma to the cycle of birth and death, and Karma Yoga practice helps us to overcome these barriers and move in the path of Karma Yoga. Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeha kuru nandana bahusha kahyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. Kurunandana, O Arjuna, the joy of Kurus, iha, in this Karma Yoga, Vyavasayatmika. Vyavasayatmika, Tirmanamana, resolute. Buddhihi eka. So there is only one intellect for the resolute. Avyavasayinam, for the irresolute, for a person who does not have single-minded attention or devotion and who easily gets distracted, for the irresolute, buddhayaha hi bahushakaha anantaha cha. So their intellect, bahushakaha, their intellect is many branched. It has many different goals and objectives. Anantaha cha, it is endless because they are indecisive. O Kurunandana, Arjuna, in this Karma Yoga, Buddhi is directed towards only one ideal and there is single-minded determination towards that single ideal. But the irresolute, who are ignorant, who are not acquainted to the Karma Yoga, they have a buddhi which is undecided, which wanders endlessly in all directions towards multiple goals. In the 39th shloka, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, you develop a Karma Yoga mindset to do your duty so that you incur no sins. So, it is buddhi of this. So, it is this buddhi of the resolute that is referred to as Vyavasayatmika buddhi. It's also referred to as sama buddhi, the state of mind that treats a pair of opposites. Pair of opposites, happiness, sorrow, or loss and gain. So all these, when faced with all of these, one has to be neutral. So sthira buddhi, sama buddhi, which treats the pair of opposites the same. And sthira buddhi, the buddhi that knows for sure that only the Parabrahma is real and the ultimate truth and the rest are unreal. So in contrast to this, you have the avyavasayinam, those irresolute persons whose mind endlessly wanders in different directions towards multiple goals. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitaha vedavadaratav partha nanyadastiti vadinaha kamatmanah swargapara janma karma phalapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishvarya gatim prati bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya pahrutat chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadau na vidhiyate. Bharata, O Arjuna, kamatmanaha, those full of worldly desires, vedavada rataha, those devoted to the words of Vedas. So in this place, Sri Krishna refers to the Karma Kanda of the Vedas that elaborate on the fruits of karma. Swargaparaha, those persons who think that the Swarga is the ultimate and anyataha na asti, there is nothing else besides the Swarga, that is the ultimate goal. So iti vadinaha, so there are these persons, they argue so that only the Swarga is the ultimate. Avipaschitaha, pashya is see. So avipaschitaha, he refers to those persons who do not have a holistic perspective of the Vedas. They have very limited understanding of the Vedas and they are ignorant and unwise. Janma karma phala pradam, the fruits of karma that give rebirth. So what is it that they advocate? They advocate some rituals and sacrifices that give the fruits of karma. What are the fruits of karma? Nothing but birth and rebirth. Kriya Vishesha Bahulam. So these persons who stick to the Karma Kanda, they advocate many pompous ritualistic ceremonies. What do these ceremonies give? Bhoga Aishwarya Gati Pradam. They give nothing but worldly pleasures for gratification. And Aishwarya, they give luxury and prosperity. Pushpitam imam yam vacham pravadanti. Pravadanti speak, they speak. Pushpitam, imam is, that is these persons, that is the Swargaparaha, Kamatmanaha, Avipashtitaha, these persons, they advocate. How do they advocate? By speaking Pushpitam Vacham, they speak flowery language and they advocate all these rituals. Taya, because of all these flowery attractive words, Apahrita Chetasam, Chetas is mind. The mind gets carried away and it gets distracted towards Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktanam. And we all, those who listen to these, we all become very fond of the worldly pleasures and wealth. Vyavasayatmika buddhi samadau na vidiyate. So such persons who become so fond of worldly pleasures, Vyavasayatmika buddhi samadau. So such persons will not be able to get into samadhi with an irresolute mind. So such persons cannot attain the determinate intellect towards God. So, O Arjuna, those persons with limited understanding of the Vedas, who are full of worldly pleasures, and they are devoted only to the magnificent words of the Karma Kanda part of the Vedas, those persons who say that the heaven is the ultimate and it is the supreme goal. So these unwise persons, they make very flowery speeches recommending the rituals that bring worldly pleasures and wealth and prosperity, and listening to this the mind gets carried away and it gets very very devoted to the worldly pleasures and wealth. Such persons who get too attached to materialistic pleasures cannot attain the determinate intellect that concentrates on the Paramatma or God. Now in the Vedas, the first part of the Vedas is the Karma Kanda. Now this Karma Kanda elaborates on the rites and rituals that bring earthly and heavenly pleasures. Vedas have three parts. Apart from Karma Kanda, it has Upasana Kanda and Jnana Kanda. The second and third, they are ignored. The second and third, they focus on spirituality. But these persons, that is Avipashchitaha, these persons who have very limited knowledge, who do not have an overall perspective, they ignore the other two parts and they only cling to the Karma Kanda. They make flowery speeches based on that, advocating rituals, and these flowery speeches, they impact the minds of people, and people become full of desires towards worldly pleasures, and these persons, they will not be able to focus on God. That's what the sloka tells. So in these shlokas, 3 shlokas are there. Through these 3 shlokas, Sri Krishna makes one point, that the Karma Kanda part of the Vedas that advocate rituals for worldly pleasures, they are not required for a person who practices Karma Yoga. Sri Krishna draws attention and he also condemns those persons who are learned, but they do not have a holistic perspective. Their mind still dwells on sensual pleasures of this materialistic world or heaven. Traigunya Vishaya Vedha Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvasto Niryogakshema Atmavan. Arjuna, Vedaha Traigunya Vishayaha. So when Krishna uses Veda, here he talks about the subject matter of the Karma Kanda. O Arjuna, the Vedas that have the Karma Kanda as the subject matter, which they deal with the material things pertaining to the 3 gunas. When we say 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamasa. Therefore, O Arjuna, Nistraigunyaha Bhava. Be transcendental, be above the 3 modes of the material nature. That is, be above these 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Nirdvandvaha. Dvandvaha is opposites, conflict between the opposites. So, be neutral when faced with a pair of opposites. That is happiness, sorrow, loss, gain. So, whenever you are faced with these pair of opposites, be neutral. Nitya Sattvastaha, be focused on the Sat, that is the eternal Paramatma. Niryoga Kshemaha, be unconcerned about Yoga Kshemam. Kshemam means you want to protect what you have, you want to protect your belongings, whatever you have, you want to continue to protect it, and you also want to accumulate further wealth. That is the nature of a human being. So Shri Krishna advises Arjuna, Niryoga Kshema, be unconcerned about protecting what you have and accumulating further wealth. Atmavan Bhava, be firmly established with the Atma with absolute self-control. So Lord Krishna's reference to the Vedas in this shloka should be understood only in the context of the Karma Kanda. The other parts, of course, we know that they deal with the spirituality. The 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamasa, they are the attributes of the mind, and they condition the mind to perceive the materialistic world through the sense organs. So, Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, Nistraigunyaha Bhava, transcend these 3 modes of material nature, because the Atma is not conditioned by these 3 gunas, it is beyond them. So, stay focused on the Atma and be Nirdvandvaha Bhava, remain unaffected by the pair of opposites, and as humans we tend to protect whatever we have, so therefore do not be unconcerned about yogakshema or accumulating further wealth, and atmavan bhava. The atma alone is real, and once you realize the atma, then the need to protect and accumulate wealth is just not there, because the knowledge of atma, once it is there, then we know that the rest are unreal, and there is no desire for यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः. सर्वतः सम्प्लुत udake. Udake is water. So let us say a person stands in a place where water is overflowing in all directions. Udapane yavan asti. So for such a person, okay, who is surrounded by water in all directions, Udapane is a small water body, let us say a well. For such a person, Udapane yavanasti, what purpose will a well serve for a person who is standing amidst water overflowing in all directions? Likewise, Vijanataha, for knowledgeable persons, Brahmanasya sarveshu vedeshu tavan. So likewise, for a knowledgeable person, an enlightened person who has the knowledge of self, he has little use of the karma kanda of Vedas that elaborates on the rituals. So with this sloka, with the help of an example, Lord Krishna clearly explains that the knower of the Brahman does not care for the elaborate rituals detailed in the karma kanda of Vedas. Sri Krishna also in this sloka reassures that as seekers of truth, we do not need to feel bad that we have no knowledge of the rituals and practices mentioned in the Vedas. It's not important for us to know everything that is there in the Vedas. We only need to know, as seekers of knowledge, we only need to know those practices. We only need to have knowledge of those practices that would help us realize the Supreme. Because the realization of Supreme is a state of Paramananda. So when you are surrounded by Ananda in all directions, then what purpose would a well serve? That is, what purpose would the various rituals of the Karma Kanda serve for such a person? To sum up what we have covered in these shlokas, that is from the 40th to the 46th, in the 40th shloka of chapter 2, Sri Krishna tells that even small baby steps, initiatives taken in the path of Karma Yoga are highly beneficial. They don't go wasted, and they serve us at an appropriate time. And the Karma Yogi is resolute and has a single-minded determination towards one ideal. And the irresolute who are indecisive have many thoughts, they have multiple objectives. The elaborate fire rituals and other rituals mentioned in the Karma Kanda of the Vedas are advocated by people who have studied the Vedas but have limited understanding. These practices helps us attain worldly pleasures, and persons who are lost in these can never have a resolute mind that can realize the Paramatma. An enlightened person has no need for these elaborate rituals as he doesn't care for worldly pleasures.